Hello everyone, and welcome to Who Created It and How. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most foundational and beautiful elements of architecture, the arch. When you think of an arch, what comes to mind? Maybe the majestic Colosseum in Rome, the Grand Arc de Triomphe in Paris, or perhaps the sleek golden arches of a certain fast food chain. The arch is everywhere, a symbol of strength, elegance, and endurance. But who actually invented it? Was it the Romans with their magnificent aqueducts and amphitheaters? The answer might surprise you. Let's travel back in time to uncover the true origins of this architectural marvel. Our story begins not in Rome, but much earlier, in ancient Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization, located in modern-day Iraq. As early as the 2nd millennium BC, Mesopotamian builders were already experimenting with the basic principles of the arch. They used it in a simple form, primarily for underground structures, like tombs and drains. These weren't the grand sweeping arches we see today, but rather rudimentary corbelled arches made by stacking bricks, each one slightly overlapping the one below it until they met at the top. It was a clever way to span an opening without needing a long, single piece of stone or wood, which were scarce resources in the region. So while the Mesopotamians didn't perfect it, they planted the first seed of this incredible idea. They understood the basic concept, redirecting weight downwards and outwards. From Mesopotamia, the idea of the arch slowly spread. We find evidence of its use in other ancient civilizations, like the Indus Valley and ancient Egypt. The Egyptians, known for their monumental pyramids and temples built with post and lintel systems, think vertical columns and horizontal beams, also used arches, but sparingly. They mostly reserved them for utilitarian structures, like granary roofs and subterranean vaults, not for their grand public buildings. It seems the arch was seen as practical, but not yet beautiful or worthy of their most important monuments. It was a functional solution, not an artistic statement. So if the Mesopotamians started it and the Egyptians used it, where do the Greeks fit in? The ancient Greeks, masters of proportion and aesthetics, gave us the Parthenon and the foundation of Western architecture. But surprisingly, they largely ignored the true arch. They were masters of the post and lintel system, perfecting its proportions to create buildings of incredible harmony and beauty. They knew about the arch, likely from their contact with other cultures, but they chose not to use it in their temples and public buildings. Why? Perhaps they saw it as aesthetically less pure than their straight lines and right angles. For the Greeks, architectural perfection was found in the clarity and order of the column and beam. The curve of the arch just didn't fit their style. This brings us to the civilization most famously associated with the arch, ancient Rome. The Romans weren't the inventors of the arch, but they were its greatest innovators and promoters. They took the basic concept they inherited from the Etruscans, an Italic civilization that had adopted the arch from the Greeks and Mesopotamians, and they perfected it. The Roman genius was in understanding the true potential of the arch. They developed the rounded or semicircular arch, and most importantly, they mastered the use of the keystone. The keystone is the wedge-shaped stone at the very top of the arch. When it's placed, it locks all the other stones, called voussoirs, into position and distributes the weight down the sides of the arch to its supports. This innovation was a game changer. The Romans combined the arch with their own revolutionary invention, concrete. This combination allowed them to build on a scale never seen before. Suddenly, they could create massive, open interior spaces without a forest of columns. They could span vast valleys with aqueducts that carried water for miles, and build enormous amphitheaters like the Colosseum, with its iconic tiers of arches that could seat tens of thousands of people. The arch wasn't just a structural element for the Romans. It was a symbol of their power, their engineering prowess, and their empire. They replicated it in triumphal arches, bridges, and basilicas across their vast territory, from Britain to North Africa. The story doesn't end with the fall of Rome, of course. The arch continued to evolve. In the Middle Ages, architects in the Byzantine Empire and the Islamic world took the Roman arch and adapted it. They developed the pointed arch, which is a key feature of Gothic architecture. The pointed arch was even stronger than the semicircular arch. It directed weight more directly downwards, allowing for taller buildings, thinner walls, and massive stained glass windows that flooded cathedrals with light. Think of the soaring heights of Notre Dame in Paris or Chartres Cathedral. None of that would have been possible without the evolution from the rounded Roman arch to the pointed Gothic arch. It was a spiritual as well as an engineering breakthrough, allowing buildings to reach towards the heavens. Then, during the Renaissance, architects looked back to the classical world of Greece and Rome. They revived the semicircular arch, celebrating its perfect geometry and harmony. They used it to create buildings that reflected the order and reason of their time. From that point on, the arch has remained a constant and versatile tool in the architect's toolkit. In the 19th century, with the advent of iron and steel, we see new forms like the parabolic arch used in bridges and train stations, structures that combine immense strength with a sense of lightness and grace. So, who invented the arch? The answer isn't a single person or even a single civilization. It was a gradual process of innovation and refinement that spanned thousands of years and multiple cultures. It started as a humble solution for underground drains in Mesopotamia. It was used practically by the Egyptians, largely ignored by the Greeks, and then perfected and monumentalized by the Romans. It was later transformed by Gothic builders and celebrated again during the Renaissance. Each culture added a new chapter to its story. The arch is a perfect example of how a simple, brilliant idea can be passed down, adapted, and improved upon, shaping the world we see around us. It's a testament to human ingenuity, a curve that connects us all the way back to the dawn of civilization. Next time you walk under a bridge, enter a grand building, or even just see an arched window. Take a moment to appreciate the incredible history packed into that simple shape. It's a story of engineering, art, and the endless human drive to build something stronger, taller, and more beautiful. Thanks for joining us on Who Created It and How. We hope you enjoyed this architectural journey. If you found this interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration into the history of great ideas. See you next time.